Hey, I want to welcome you guys to another edition of Woodcarver's Corner. What I'd like to do this time is, since I had such a good time on this project, you guys that's been following us on Woodcarver's Corner, remember we done the Viking on the horse out of this piece of butternut. Well, I'm going to do something almost like this in a way, but except with a full headdress end in and the horse's head. I don't think I'm going to get involved in the legs and all that of the horse this time. First of all, let's just talk about this beautiful piece of butternut. This is actually the other half of that butternut that I carved the Viking out of, and I told you when we were doing it, man, this is the nicest carving piece of butternut ever. So I was excited to get back into another piece of it. So I've decided what I'd like to try to do. I made a couple of light sketches here. This was the first sketch that I made, and I'm going to do a full headdress end in. The reason I wanted to try to get some flowing stuff like these feathers off the back to show, something flowing. I might even add a feather or two here on the horse's bridle, let's say, just to show some action. And so that I may end up, of course, putting a rein going back behind it. Now, what I didn't like about this is it's not going to let me carve much of his body with this shield in the way. And since I'd done an axe on the, or a tomahawk on the Viking, I got to thinking, well, I drew it again. So my other drawing is basically the same. I did not finish it. Almost the same thing I just did there. I would add, a feather, maybe two, flowing off the bridle of the horse. This way, if I put the shield, let's say over the shoulder and on the back at an angle of this guy, I can show the feathers, just show a little bit of movement. I can carve his chest and his arm and stuff, and I'll bring this bridle on into his hand, and of course I'll probably show the end of it here. But see my board, where I got this line drawn here, my board is actually that thick. So after I drew this, I got to thinking, I got more room up here. So I'm going to do this same type of a pattern like this, but I'm going to move him up, which would let me show just a little bit of the horse's, let's say, chest or something. I'm not sure, when you guys are first plotting in on something like this, there's so many uncertainties, you really don't know what you're going to do. But for instance, on that Viking, I bridged the axe against his head to where it wouldn't get broke off. But I had actually thought about, what if I brought a spear and bridged it behind the horse's head somewhere? Now, this is just what if. I don't even know whether I will do that. And this would be an arrowhead or something. But what I can do, then it would let me do a couple of feathers coming off from the spear here. And of course, I may even let the spear come on past here a little bit. And of course, I would put his hand around the spear up here. So this is what I'm thinking. And I will get this drawn on this board. Now, some of the things is which way am I going to put the grain in this? And I think this time I'm going to go this way. Last time I went the other way in the board. So I will draw my pattern and I'll refine my pattern a little bit. And I'm going to draw it on this board and then I'll show you guys. Remember in the Viking tape how I sawed it out with the Sawzall? Well, that's pretty much what I got in mind with this. I'm kind of excited just to get back into this piece of butternut. I tell you what, this was the nicest piece of butternut that I've carved in a long time. So I'm excited. And next time we talk, I'll have this drawn on and we'll saw our pattern out in the board. Well, we talked a little yesterday when I had the board in there and what I might be going to do. And I know I told you guys that I wasn't going to do legs and stuff on this particular and then on the horse project. But then last night as I drew this over again on a big piece of paper, and the more I got to thinking about it, I'm like, the whole idea here is to show action in the piece and movement, let's say. So then I decided, heck, why not put some legs on there? Now, the grain direction is this way on the board, which actually is the wrong direction for what we're trying to do here, because this would be cross grain across this leg and these two legs and the tail. Now, anyway, as I drew it off last night, then I got to thinking, well, I could bridge another feather tied to this horse's tail down and connect it to the back of the leg. Then this actually is this full headdress, and I was going to do the headdress flowing that way off the back. But the more I thought about it, I might have a shield on his back with some feathers or something. So anyway, either way, you got problems with the grain. So I thought, well, professionally, I think I can handle this. So I got my pattern drawn on there. I'm not going to do these inside cuts anywhere because I do want to slide the ended forward more on the horse. So like here, I won't cut anything out of here or in between here for right now. So I'm going to get the Sawzall and start sawing it out. Now, as you guys can see, it's going to take a little while to saw this out. I'm not going to try to get in, like I said, in between places or anything like that right now. I'm generally just going to, I drew it big, so I'm going to keep everything big. You probably notice how big I got the legs and the hooves and the stuff on the horse. That's because when we were carving the Viking, there's a few places that I got a little tight in there. And, you know, when you're planning in on a piece like this, you guys, you want to leave yourself some room here and there. If you got any areas that you think, ooh, I better leave some room, because back to the first rule of wood carving, or any carving for that matter, is you can take more wood off, but you can't put it back. So when you're sawing out, try to leave yourself room. And so I'm going to go ahead and saw around these black lines. I could take it down to the bandsaw and do some bandsawing, but as big as this is, my bandsaw throat isn't that deep. And so I'll just do the best I can with this Sawzall. Probably going to take me a good hour or more to saw this out. So the next time I talk to you guys, I will have this sawed out and we'll talk about the project a little bit more then. Well, while I'm out here sawing this other one out, I thought you guys might enjoy seeing a carving that I've been working on most of all last winter, off and on in the evenings. I would spend, I'm going to say, an hour, one evening every week on this piece. And anyway, it's pretty intense because instead of just doing the ends of the feathers, I decided to put little flus on the ends of the feathers, which is kind of suicide in a way, you guys, because going in between all of this stuff, you know, there may be an evening in a 3-hour evening working on this. I may only get one feather laid out and one of these flus on the ends laid out or something. And you can see I'm starting to go behind some of the straps and stuff. This ending has a shield, and in this hand, he's got a tomahawk with some feathers flowing off it. But he's full all the way to the ground headdress. But see, he's got a shield in his hand. Now look at the feathers on this shield. Oh, let me get my foot out of there. Is not only have that, you talk about some hard digging. Look in here. My gosh, I've dug all of this out of here. And there's been several evenings where I would spend 4 or 5 hours just, let's say, framing in around this hand, this strap that's in his hand, this strap that's coming over his wrist. And of course, everything's just framed in. There is nothing even close to finished on this piece. And I've got everything kind of roughed in where I want it on this piece. I started out, of course, with the chainsaw, and I chainsawed a lot of this out. And of course, I've been working by hand on it quite a bit. You can see I got some cactus down at the bottom started in. There will be a tomahawk in this hand, fringe, a lot of fringe. Of course, all the flus here I was talking about off the end of the feathers. You know, in a way, this is kind of carving suicide because you're getting yourself into a lot of places that are really hard to get to, like in behind his arms and in between his legs and stuff. I'll turn him slowly here. I got his head and his hair framed in. I got the feathers coming off from his shield here, and they're coming down, and I'm bridging them in here against this other headdress a little bit in there. And of course, his leg. You might notice that I got a little bit of Bondo body putty because down here at the bottom is a rotten spot, see? And it's kind of like we were talking about in the video the other day about the face falling off the wizard. I mean, you just got to contend with what happens. This is butternut, this log was, and beautiful carving butternut, but it's pretty hard. It's way harder than some of it that I've carved. And of course, I got his knife sheath laid out down here. You might have noticed I had arrows written on this quiver back here where I'm going to carve in the middle of here and show this. I'll turn it where you can kind of see. See, I got arrows written in there. Well, that's a quiver on his back. But it's crazy because I'm trying to carve from various angles inside there. Down here at the bottom, I've got a buffalo skull roughed in. I'm actually almost to Easy Street with this piece, you guys. But I just kind of, since we're doing this full headdress and then on the horse thing, I wanted to show you this particular full headdress and He's got the breastplate on him. It's quite an intense piece. But also what I want to tell you guys is sometimes it's nice to get a piece going that you're saying, you know, I am really going to take my time on this piece. By the time this is over, I will have every little stitch, every little braid. You can see up in here where I started braiding some on his hair. I got some beads, all sorts of stuff. But I will clean up every little thing on this before this is said and done. I just wanted to show you guys that. Well, I thought since we're talking full headdress indents, I'll show you this one. I've done this pattern, I'm going to say 6 times now over the years. This particular type of a pattern. And I got a full headdress, and of course I braided the hair. Let me turn him just a little. But this is out of catalpa wood. And anyway, since we were talking full headdress indents, I just wanted to show you guys the headdress on him. Now, this particular piece of catalpa did not carve well at all. And so I did not do a lot of really fine detail on it, only because this piece of catalpa just was real, well, for one thing, it's real grainy. And catalpa is okay as a carving wood, but it really doesn't carve all that great. If you could see the grain pattern down here, you can see that this tree grew some years almost 3/4 of an inch, half inch, quarter. So it's really fast growing tree. But we were talking full headdress indents. I just thought you guys might like to see this one. So we'll get back to our project. Well, I spent a little bit of time here earlier this afternoon, and I sawed some of this out, but I kind of scared myself with that Sawzall in a little ways, you guys. Let's say that Sawzall was starting to get good to me, and that's when you got to watch out. Somewhere here, I got pretty close a couple of places. So some of this inner stuff in here and between the tail and the back of the horse, I've decided I'm going to go with a paddle bit, and I'm going to come through these areas here. What a beautiful piece of butternut, though, you guys. I told you back when we were carving the wizards and the kings that we were going to get into some good butternut, and by golly, this is it. And the video that we did on the Viking, that's the same butternut. And I tell you what, it's just gorgeous. But I just wanted you guys to see a few places here with that Sawzall. If I had my big bandsaw that it's still in Oklahoma in my shop, but I could have bandsawed every bit of this out because the throat on that big bandsaw would reach across here. But I've decided to don't get in here and start trying to get in too close. So what I'm going to do is drill a few holes in here and take this out, because I know that where the back of this horse is, and like this chunk I can take out, and these two chunks like in here come out of here. So a lot of time I can do
consecutive holes right next to each other like this. And here. Now I might want to let this rein, this is the reins of the horse. I might want to let that droop down just a little bit. So I'm going to keep my drill marks away from there. Yeah, here's where I scared myself a little. I overcut almost the bottom of the horse's mouth or something. I drew everything big, so I'm pretty sure I'm okay. But just wanted you guys to see that I'm going to do a little drilling. I don't know whether you guys have ever, you wood carvers have ever done this, where you would be surprised sometime how much carving you can do with a paddle bit, you know, and take negative spaces out. So I just wanted you guys to see that, because I'm going to stay up tonight and begin to round the headdress. This is a lance, and it's in his back hand. It's on the back side of the end. So I'm going to round this headdress all up. This, where I'd planned on a full headdress waving in the back, may end up being a a shield that's on this Indian's back or something. So anyway, just wanted to catch you guys up, because I'm really looking forward to carving on this butternut late tonight. And then I'll catch up with you guys tomorrow and kind of show you where I'm at. So see you then.